I remember the moment that I saw her, but I don't necessarily remember the moment that I met her. I may have just been in such passing, and I may have kind of like blacked out because I'm like, oh, that's that woman. That's that woman. That's a magical creature from the egg. Vagina monologues was certainly the time. We didn't do it for very long, but we had so much fun. And Becca, to my memory, had the monologue where the woman who it's based on is talking about wanting to reclaim the word cunt. Even just physically, Rebecca was blonde and creamy skinned and, looks like some version of what mom and dad want you to bring home, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then to know her as an actress at that point as the dead mother in Secret Garden and Maria von Trapp, for God's sake. Like, who is more virginal and all of that than the nun? Vagina Monologues was kind of like a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. Not that Becca was the kind of person to, frankly, running around going, oh, fucking cunt. Like, that wasn't really her, but she was very saucy. There was a certain amount of joy every night when we got to that section because people knew who she was when people who came to see the show, and to see this departure of one of the kind of mother goddesses speaking like that. And I think you wouldn't have been surprised necessarily if Patti LuPone was sitting on that stool saying that monologue. You've been like, yeah, Patty's great, whatever. But seeing Becca do that monologue was just a delicious piece of candy. I do understand that partially this business very, very much wants to put you in a box because it just makes it simpler for people to be like, what's our go-to? But sometimes there are people who are allowed to bend and stretch. And then some people just can't see past it.
Yeah.
Which is why I think doing something like Vagina Monologues, for example, was probably very sad. I mean, it was satisfying for all of us. It's just very satisfying to do. And I feel like Becca, perhaps more than other people, but Becca particularly, there are other people like this, but because of the way she looks, it's hard to dull that. It's hard to dull that beauty down.
Right.
Like, I guess you could go real like dishwater or whatever. You could wig or dark, because dark hair always means saucy and evil. And blonde hair always means soprano and lovely, which is silly, but it is a trope that is leaned into in so many ways. And almost the curse of being so magnificent at what she did and looking the way she looked made it that much harder for people in power to see another side. She was not someone that demanded attention in a showy way, in a turn that spotlight on me way. If the attention rightly came to her, she accepted it with grace and a humility that made you love her even more. Her honesty was so magnetic, which I don't know if I would always think of honesty as being something that people are like, oh, let me look at that. In musical theater, it tends to be a lot of that, like, kind of nonsense that gets the attention. She tricked you. She made it look so simple. She made it look like any of us could stand up and sing My White Knight. Fun fact, no, we can't. No, we can't.
Yeah.
And another fun fact, a lot of sopranos can't. There was something in her voice that had a longing where I think a lot of soprano sounds tend to sound like a smile. But there's something about the longing of Becca's vocal sound.
Yeah.
There's just like this sort of underpinning of melancholy or sadness,
Yeah.
which is so interesting
Right.
because it's not that typical, I'm just lifted and bright.
Yeah.
She's lifted and the sound is bright and clarion and clear. But again, there's like a texture and there, I mean, I guess that's what I mean also about like the storytelling. Like there's just something, she wasn't satisfied to just be a voice. I don't know that there's a way to extract yourself as a performer from who you are as a human being.
Right.
But all of the joy and all of the longing and all of the technique of being a human
Yeah.
that Becca possessed, she just, when she walked past that portal from the wing onto the stage, she just channeled it into the thing, the words and the music given to her to impart. The more expansive and the more grounded that you can be as a human, the more you can embody whoever you're supposed to embody when you walk on stage. She was the best of those things. She's definitely one of the people, but I can so distinctly remember seeing in a performance, and I did not know her, and I did not have a notion of her prior to that moment, who I then got to actually know as a flesh and blood human being. And it was better than I could have hoped for. Not because she specifically did anything, but just because I was allowed to play in her orbit
Mm.
and to call her Becca.